Okay, we are live.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hacks Chat. This is the show where we talk to like-minded hacks. I'm Thibert. I'll be your host or one of them. I have a 35-year career in this wacky industry, this comic industry that we know and love, mainly Marvel, DC. But I jumped ship in the 90s and helped a little fledgling company called Image Comics form. So that was a while back. So currently I am in the independent realm with Black and White. And with me hanging out at Hack Shack Studios is Taylor Grosso.
Hi, everybody. It's me. I'll be here reading your chat. If you want to join the conversation, ask some questions of our guest, ask some questions of our host, 35-year comic book vet Art Thibert, and also my writing partner for Black and White. We've been working on this book for a while, and it's the classic 90s series created by Art Thibert, brought back with new life. But that's not all who's here today.
Who else do we have? Do you want to say it?
We have Narwhal.
Hey, Narwhal, what's up?
Hey, thanks for having me. Nice to meet you guys, Taylor and Art.
Hey, no problem, brother. I've seen you bop in and out of a lot of live streams, so I feel like I already know you.
Yeah, same here. I love the community. It's so big too. I'm always meeting new people like Taylor, so it's cool.
It just extended your friend list right now with Taylor.
Yeah.
Now we're bonded forever.
Is it about to rain in your house, or is it just really cold because you have like a hoodie on?
It's cold. I don't have the heat on right now, so I usually wear a hood or a hat. I had one of those Russian hats, but I lost it a while back. But I used to wear the Russian hat. I'd wear it in public after the 2016 election, and people would give me this eye. They're like, "What's that hat doing around here?"
Well, you like the Russians.
Yeah, I have much love for the Russians. No, I don't know.
They're a red state. We don't like them.
Keep those Ushankas out of America.
Yeah, whatever you said. Well, how you doing, brother? I hear you have an Indiegogo with your new book, Earthbound. So how's it going? How you doing?
It's going good, yeah. I did a campaign like 2 years ago for the first issue, and Comicsgate was just kind of formulating, and it hadn't quite centralized yet to the point where it was like supporting indie artists in the way it is now, which is so amazing. I think Ethan hadn't really popped on the scene fully yet even. And that campaign was just for the first double issue. And I ended up making a humble goal, but I kind of had to beg my friends and family. And that changed all 1 year later, especially with Ethan's help and the whole community. But that was for this campaign now, which is the full first part of the book, which is 148 pages. And that one was like successful, like raised 14K and sold 500 copies or something. So then I deliberately over-ordered, and I'm fulfilling it now. The PDFs released and everything, and ordering copies. And I did a second campaign that's limited because it's based on that first order that I made. But it's kind of the second offer for people who missed it, and it features a hardcover edition.
Okay, so this is I'm a little confused. So there were two different editions that you put out, but is it all the same material?
Yeah, it's kind of the one book I've been building. I've been working on it the last 3 years. So there was one Indiegogo like way back when, 2 years ago, and then there was one in the middle that's for much bigger, and that's been the one everyone knows about. That's the successful Comicsgate one. And then there's this one that's live right now. That's kind of the second offer for people who missed it.
So is this like the ultimate jam of Earthbound? So is this like everything plus the kitchen sink?
Yeah, well, this one is identical to the last one, except it's offering hardcover. But what this one is, the 148 pages, it's kind of like Kill Bill. It's the first part. So there's going to be a second part. It's not even like a sequel. It's like a second part. And then eventually there may be a sequel. But the second part will
be a second part, but it's not going to be in this hardcover, right? It's coming?
Yeah, it won't be in this hardcover.
Okay.
John Wood Productions in the chat says, "I'm here for you three. Great team up."
Hey, John, what's up?
What's up, John? I see John liking my tweets once in a while, so I like that name.
Yeah, he did our music, right?
Yeah, I believe that is the man
same
behind.
John?
Yeah, Christ Energetics.
Yeah, he did. If you haven't checked it out, we have Black and White up in the Indiegogo shop, and the video, all the music was done by, I guess, John. I don't know what he goes by.
John Wood Productions now. I'm assuming he just changed his name because I saw that logo and that's why I recognized him.
Yeah,
He's
he
very
was.
good.
Yeah, he was Christ Energetics, and God, we brainstormed with him to do like a James Bond kind of, but like modern day kind of thing. So it has this surf guitar and everything. God, I'm so flattered. We actually, Black and White has theme music.
It's very cool.
Yes, I'm sorry, we're making this about us, Narwhal.
No, that's awesome. I wanted to say regarding your art, I have a background in animation, which is mostly just going to school, and that was years ago. But one of the principles of animation is its appeal, and your art has amazing appeal. I find it really inspiring for that. Like your women are beautiful and the men are handsome, but not. It's like it's like I don't know. It's just good appeal. Everyone should take inspiration from that.
Oh, thank you. Well, let's put this spotlight back on Earthbound where it should be. And yeah, I love the colors. What do they call that? That's like cell shading. Is that kind of that type of coloring?
Yeah, it's kind of like inspired by low poly 3D animation, even like early 90s video games, but also definitely like a cell shading kind of thing where you got one light source or, one highlight and one shade. I usually try and do the light source to be highlights. So I do like 80 to 90% the darker shade and then 10 to 20% the highlight.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting, unique look.
Yeah, I like it. Let's scroll down and show some people some of the artwork. Oh, it's here?
All right.
Because I saw some pages earlier.
Yeah, I released the PDF, so it's been getting some reviews and they've been very positive. So I'm using some of that to kind of.
Were those the reviews there that we just had there? Are these reviews here?
Yeah, that's kind of, so I'm pulling, some quotes for marketing basically. But yeah, the art's further down. Posted some of that, some pages.
Okay. Is this all digital? Are you drawing in the computer?
Yeah, I have a Wacom tablet. It's a great product. It doesn't seem like it's ever going to break. It's 2 or 3, 4 years old or something like that.
I've learned never to say that.
Oh yeah.
Because as soon as I say, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful that is. Is that the cover or is that a page from the book?
That's a page in the book. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's not going to end well for that poor girl.
Everything's composed in a very interesting way.
Yeah, I'm inspired, among others, by Tim Sale. I kind of like the lots of negative places to rest your eyes and kind of have the focus be pretty simple.
Well, you bring up Tim Sale. I actually like this, and then you brought up aesthetics. It is kind of open, like Tim Sale's work. Not a lot of rendering, but I think I like your aesthetic better.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, one thing about mine, the line art, I don't do much ink. I kind of think ink, this is like an oversimplification, but I think America is all about ink and Europe is all about color. And my lines pretty much just hold the colors. I don't really ink at all. And Tim Sale inked a ton and he was great at it. So that's a big difference between ours. But I love playing with color and I've been getting better at it. Especially since I jumped into Comicsgate. There's so much inspiration.
Yeah, there's a ton of brilliant stuff here. They look like what are those, like color make readies for animation? You know how they take a scene?
Yeah, like an animatic kind of.
Yeah, that shadow on that pool is brilliant.
It's really cool.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a lot of it's just picking the right values, and kind of, if you get the values right, it'll look good no matter what, but then you can kind of mess with the hue and all that.
Well, somebody like me, this totally angers because all my stuff is so, and I'm not saying there isn't labor here, but it's not in like the line art. You know what I mean? It's all in the thought work of where the light sources are, the coloring, the shadowing, but it really is like stripped down to really basic elements, like you said, like light and dark, like with the coloring. but because of that, it forces you to be really creative. I think graphically like this. This is really nice stuff, Narwhal. Really, really cool.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's cool because it's kind of the Narwhal brand. So I'm trying to embrace it rather than move away from. I'm trying to just get better at this like style necessarily rather than like changing styles completely or something.
Well, I think my next project, I'm just going to outline with the Wacom tablet and do the rest with color.
Yeah, I actually, that would be interesting to see. Like, if you should test a short comic or something, because with your talent doing that kind of workflow could be amazing. You could collaborate with a colorist too. Could even collaborate with me, maybe. I'd color your art.
Ooh.
John says it's some of the most dynamic comic art I can think of.
Yeah, it's not quite animation, and it's not quite comic books either. It's really a cool hybrid of the two. I'm a big animation guy. I collect animation cells and stuff like that, and I worked developing like shows and things for different networks a few years back for like Nickelodeon and Disney.
Oh, cool.
And what's it, Cartoon Network?
You have a cool, interesting past. I caught your live stream with Ethan, like, you know, a few months ago, but it kind of telling about your stories with Marvel, I think, falling out a little bit and everything. But yeah. So did you know Doug TenNapel ever when you're working in animation? I'm just curious.
Yes, I did. That's interesting. I actually did an animation project, and then I made a comic book based on it. And I got a quote from Doug way back when, so I'm going to bring that back out and see if Doug remembers it. I think he said "deadly art," right, or something like that.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I would love to see your colors over some of my work here, because I really like just structure. Like you know, I came up in the '90s where there was a lot of line, like just, you know, hatching and like crazy stylistic line work. But the older I get, the more I go back to like the Alex Toth, like just, you know, strip it down to the basics and then just let that speak for itself. And I'm actually more excited with that stuff. So when I'm laying, you know, black and white out, I just do it real linear, you know, just basic lights and darks and just outlines. And I'm actually liking that almost more than putting all the rendering and stuff. But I'm kind of known for the rendering, you know, my style and my my reputation. So I almost feel like if I don't do some rendering, no one's going to like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing I say about this style too is like one panel might be like less impressive, but taking the whole book in that style feels pretty good, and it'll kind of grow on people.
I don't know about that. I mean, this page we're looking at right now, the splash page, this is really inspired. I mean, there's also a nice where you hard edge things, and then there's parts where you kind of soften it, and there's some airbrush work, but it's not overly done, so it looks heavily rendered. I think you mostly do that for lighting effects or special effects where you kind of, you know, airbrush stuff more.
Yeah.
This is nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've noticed. I don't know why I figured this out, but like a blurry line becoming a sharp line looks really cool. Everyone kind of loves it. So you can do that with shadows if there's like wrapping around a light source, just a form shadow. So like with this guy on the ball, that would be an airbrushed shadow. And then but a cast shadow upon that overlapping it would be a sharp shadow. So then you get
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought like the guys that did the coloring the best in comics were like where the light was coming in, there was a soft side and then there was a hard side on the other, like where the shadow would be. Does that make sense? So where the light is coming in, like let's say it's coming in from right to left, that side of the line would be softened, and then the other side where the cast shadow would be like a drawn line.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And it looks like you kind of did some of that here on the cone, and that shadow that's coming from her hand across into that like Jack in the Box hat shadow. That thing is awesome, man.
Pixel Trader says, so good, the police showed up with a search warrant.
Did they?
That's his tagline for my book. He read it and enjoyed it, so he helped me promote it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Thanks, Pixel.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, the drawing's real strong. The coloring is amazing. So you want to tell us a little bit about the concept, or?
Yeah, so this book, it's about two mercenaries that are in competition with each other, sent to Earth to recruit 5 deadly warriors, and whoever recruits a majority of the 5 will earn their freedom. They kind of work for the same bad guy who sends them to Earth. And it's the larger kind of world is there's these 13 sponsors that compete in this tournament every 4 years, and they submit warriors to the tournament. And so they're always looking for good warriors out there in the galaxy to quote unquote recruit, which basically means you like capture them, you know? And so they do a draft so they don't compete for the same warriors. So it's the 13th sponsor drafts the Sirens of Violence, which are these 4 girls hiding out on Earth. They send these 2 mercenaries to Earth. And then the mercenaries are like, well, what if we each get 2? What if it's a tie? And they say, well, here's the tiebreaker. And it's WizKid, who is their ex teammate who had been stranded on Earth.
Ah, I like it. So how long ago did you put this up?
This one's been up 10 days and it's reached its goal, which is great. This one's a little bit kind of a humble goal because it's just a little bonus for people who missed it on top of the bigger campaign that Ethan helped with and everything. And that one's fulfilling now. This one will fulfill very quickly kind of with that one. I'll just save it for the end though. I put August, but it'll probably be sooner, like January or July or something.
Are they already printed up, or are you waiting for the orders to come in?
Yeah, I'm kind of talking to the printer now, but we're kind of deep into that process. So I feel like any day/week, they'll be shipped out or whatever.
Well, that's quite a hardback, 148 pages. That's a lot. Okay, so we have the soft cover edition, $20. And are those limited? So you have 225 of those?
Yeah, because I ordered 2K is the print run, 500 hardcovers and 1.5K soft covers. And that's including the previous campaign and this campaign. It's the same print run.
Okay.
So these are limited. And I'm saving up some to sell when part 2 comes out. People can catch up too.
Are these signed? Because it says softcover edition. Did those come signed?
Yeah, I'll sign all of them. I'll be fulfilling this one myself. And then I want to kind of look into the possibility of fulfillment companies and all that. I'm kind of curious about that, but I'm going to do this one myself. Kind of like how Richard Meyer did it.
Okay. Well, I've done 2 Kickstarters, and I have a little team here. It's kind of family, but my wife handles a lot of that, and she's very technical and very precise. So she keeps track of everything. Did I tell you, Taylor, she has all the labels printed out already for black and white?
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of labels.
That's a lot of labels. All right, so then we have the hardcover edition, which is 40, and that's the new book, right?
Yeah, so the soft cover and the hardcover, they're actually both 148. They're identical, except one's soft cover, one's hardcover.
Okay. And so we have, those are limited as well, right? So 200?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they going to be like numbered as well? So like signed and numbered? Is that why you have the 200 there?
No, but it's just, I do put in the book that there's 500 hardcovers that exist and 1.5 soft covers. And that's the only print run for this edition ever. There'll be a second edition through Cautionary, is the idea, because I'm partnering with Ben Henderson on that. We've been talking. But for this edition, so it will be really limited with, possibly the value going a little higher than for that reason. There's one backer too, emailed me a bunch, and he bought a handful of every edition in bulk, like 10 of each of these, because he's speculating, but he's doing it for a lot of Comicsgate campaigns. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I bet that could pay off. Yeah,
hopefully. Yeah, I'd like to see all these books go up in value. Because they're not going to be widely, there's not going to be wide distribution, so they're not really going into shops and things like that. So, these really are kind of boutique shops where we're selling one of a kind, comic books here.
Jam in the comments said, I'm waiting until I get the actual book to read Earthbound. It's so hard to resist, but I want to read the physical book before the digital version.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it, to each their own. And I think that's going to help once I physically fulfill the book. There'll be a lot of people like that reading it. So that will help boost interest for part 2 and everything that I'm trying to build.
Okay, so let's get through this and then we'll talk about part 2. Earthbound plus sketchbook. So tell us about the sketchbook.
Yeah, so the sketchbook, it includes 2 comics, one 20-page, like first issue of a comic that I'm calling, or it's just an adaptation of Nosferatu. Let me see, actually, I might be able to show you guys. This will be an exclusive preview of the sketchbook. And then the other one is a short comic called Robozan, which is about an AI that splits, where half of the AI as it's developing is going to kill humans, and the other half still kind of likes humans because humans created it. So it's kind of an AI civil war within itself, and it sends a failsafe into the real world to try and survive the more powerful AI, which is the one that hates humans, like the more advanced version of it developing, kind of like the future version of it. And it sends it as a monkey. So there's a monkey in the forest, like a robot monkey.
I like that.
I like robot monkeys.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of monkeys in comics, period.
Yeah, me too. My icon is a monkey, but these days I've been showing my face with a mask. I don't even know why I do that really either. But I say having Narwhal and wearing a mask and stuff, it's like a line I could say like to ladies at a bar or something. I say, I'm actually a controversial anonymous figure online. Go by Narwhal.
Is it working?
No, I only got to deliver it once, and the girl goes, what's your real name though? And I'm like, okay, on to the next thing.
On to the next. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Do you see the art here? Is it coming through to?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the sketchbook cover. So Nosferatu is, I'll kind of go through it quickly.
Ooh.
Here's the art, so it's kind of like grainy background, black and white characters.
This looks very cool.
Yeah, thanks. And it's it's cool. It's just write it. I just adapted the silent film pretty much, so it wasn't exercising my brain so much. So it was kind of like a relaxing project, and so it's kind of just sitting there. And so I'm throwing that in the sketchbook, but I think people will enjoy that. And I'll just power through quickly. So there's a page.
Wow.
And yeah, but this eventually will be 60 pages. I have 40 pages drawn and 20 pages colored, but I'll do another sketchbook when the next Indiegogo comes for 20 more pages of Nosferatu, and maybe give it its own Indiegogo eventually. It depends on the kind of the response a little bit, like, because it is sort of like a B project for mine, but it still could be pretty quality. But here's an example. Like, you have the silent film, then you have the 1979 film by Werner Herzog, then you have my thumbnail, and then the actual frame I drew for the comic. And here again, thumbs to that.
So wait, so were those going to be in the sketchbook, or are those just to try to help sell the book? What are these going to be used for?
These are all in the sketchbook. So calling it a sketchbook is almost like a little bit confusing, because it's actually got comic pages in it, and then it's got
so it's sort of like a preview.
Yeah, I could call it a Narwhal preview book or something, but I just call it the sketchbook.
But there's 2 different books, right? There's the sketchbook, and then there's the Nosferatu book, right?
Yeah, except the Nosferatu book is just in the sketchbook. Like,
oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah, and then so here's some actual sketches that go in the sketchbook, some spaceship stuff,
And the sketchbook is a physical printed ash can, or?
Yeah, it's going to be physically printed. It'll be 52 pages, and it'll just ship.
Oh my gosh, for $15? That's how much the sketchbook is, right?
Is that what it says? I think.
I think it's added to the hardbound. So I think the tier was 55. So I just kind of did the math that because I think your hardback book is 40, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere in there, because if for the soft cover, I think it's $30 more it adds to. But
okay,
then,
so this is the soft. So it just says Earthbound Plus. So is that the hardback or the soft cover?
yeah, so there's 2 tiers. You can get either the soft cover with sketchbook or the hardcover with sketchbook. And the hardcover with sketchbook's a little better deal.
Oh, okay, I see. Now that's the last tier. All right.
Yeah.
So
There's
then the $40 one is the soft cover, or the $55 one is the soft cover.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Oh, here's some more of your sketches.
Yeah, some like portrait stuff. And here's Robozan. Like,
ooh, this looks really cool.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, this one, it could be like a serial because it's not really a short story. It ends with him getting dropped into the forest, kind of not knowing what's up. And I'm like, I could do another edition of this with the 2 AIs arguing while he kind of tries to figure out what's going on in the forest. But I haven't, it's not like I normally I'll write and kind of have a full, almost like a feature film script, like 120-page script, and I'll kind of work off that. And this one I'm kind of writing as I go, which is a little more haphazard.
Jam Create says, I love Narwhal's style so much. It's so unique. How did he develop this style?
Yes.
Yeah, good question. That's kind of hard to answer because I think, so one answer is my first kind of big comic gig. I got kind of luck being in the right place at the right time, but it's a book called Machete Squad. It's actually my only gig really, but I did it. I was like 30, I'm 32 now, about to turn 33 in May. But I had a buddy and I sat with him at a table at Tacoma Comic-Con and then met a journalist there who liked my art. He took my card. I luckily had cards. I normally don't, but I gave him a card. And then he emailed me 2 weeks later because he had a book deal lined up with a new publisher that's kind of like a nonfiction about a medic in Afghanistan who's posted in Afghanistan, kind of haunted by it and getting through it and stuff. And he was working with the actual medic. So it's a journalist and the guy who did it. And they had an artist who kind of fell through. So they needed to find artists quick or they'd lose their book deal. And they needed to find someone who could draw and color and letter 150 pages in a year. And I was like, I can do it. But meanwhile, I hadn't done too much in comics. So that was a huge, I'd drawn, like 200 pages or something in my life, but that's still not that much. I hadn't fully developed the style. And that was like a trial by fire where by the end of it, I kind of had this style. A lot of it was developed by necessity to go kind of fast-ish, that's kind of why I do the simple lines and stuff. And I focus on color a little more. And a lot of it's developed by just what I think looks good as I've just gotten older and constantly inspired by art. I really like Bengal. He's a French.
Oh yeah, I know he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great stuff. I like all the monkey designs here, and Robozan kind of sounds like an old Hanna-Barbera kind of, Alex Toth design show. I like it.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Robozan. I could see that as a Saturday morning cartoon in the 70s.
Yeah, I was thinking if there's a part 2, so he's sent to the forest and he's supposed to kind of like save humanity, but he just finds that one girl who was studying the gorillas or the apes got kidnapped. So he kind of forgets to save humanity and just tries to save her. And that's like a big part of the story. Then meanwhile, in the real world, everyone's getting destroyed.
Oh, that doesn't sound very Saturday morning cartoon.
You had me until the second half of that pitch.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. So you studied animation. Where did you study animation at?
Yeah, so going way back, 12 years ago, I got out of high school and I was debating doing art school or not, and I ended up kind of going for it. And nowadays, I definitely, if I had to give anyone advice, I'd say YouTube and just Comicsgate, all the free, you can message me, I'll tell you anything. Art would tell you anything. You can get a hold of Art easy. All these people, Doug, they're accessible. And I think that's
volunteering me.
Yeah. That's better than school, I think. But and when I lived in Arizona, I lived next to an art school for a while, and those kids were $100K in debt, and they were not the greatest artists. And I was thinking wow, this is weird. I used to go into their library and drink coffee in the morning And I bought one of their shirts from their art school to kind of fit in, but it turns out nobody wears that shirt because that's what the not cool kids did. So I looked like a weirdo kind of. But yeah, so out of high school, I went to the Art Institute of Seattle.
Did you just say you look like a weirdo?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to leave it at that.
So yeah, I went to the Art Institute of Seattle and it was cool, but it was like, yeah, like, I don't know, maybe it's like you got to go to the best art schools or something because there wasn't that many other good artists there. Even some of the teachers weren't that great and it was costing a lot of money. And at the time I wasn't into 3D, but I got into 3D later, but they're teaching a lot of 3D and I'm like, man, I just want to do 2D. And I kind of realized like, man, the best case scenario here is like, if you're the top of your class, you get a job and you're a cog in some wheel. You're just like a piece of the puzzle for these large projects where you're kind of not doing that much. Like I lived in Iowa for a while and I saw a talk from a guy and he's working professionally in the movie industry doing 3D. And all he did, he worked on the Ninja Turtles live action movie and all his job, he did it 8 hours a day for 6 months to a year or whatever. All they did is they take the motion captured fighting from the turtles because they capture people who weigh 160 pounds doing these great martial arts. Then when you make a 300-pound turtle do it, it doesn't look realistic. So his job is just to slow down certain things to try and make it look more realistic. So there's just adjusting motion captured data. I'm like, that doesn't sound fun at all. So I ended up, I didn't want to go into more debt. So I transferred to Evergreen State College, which is infamous for being super hippie. And I didn't like the hippies when I was there either. They're everywhere. And I didn't get into the animation program because the lady who ran it was like kind of really hippie and didn't like me. Like she asked me what my favorite movies were. And I said like The Thing and RoboCop or something. And then from that moment, I was doomed to get accepted into that program.
That sounds like my schooling as well. Oh, you like comic books? Why? Why do you like comic books?
Yeah. Yeah. So then I did a little bit of comic book stuff at Evergreen and everything, but just graduated from there with this kind of Evergreen art degree that doesn't mean much. Learned some, made some friends. That's all good. But from there, all my 20s were like working part-time minimum wage jobs and then doing Craigslist gigs from LA, like storyboards and stuff. And all the while really studying screenwriting. I really focused on that in my 20s. I read all the books and wrote a bunch of scripts. A bunch of them weren't that good, but then they started to get a little better. Kind of Earthbound's kind of the fruit of some of that labor too.
So you wrote that originally as a screenplay?
Yeah, it's actually started like when I was 25 or 26. I co-wrote it with I call him my mentor. He's just a kind of a good buddy, but there's this filmmaker named Louis Dorge, and he ran a video store when I lived in Texas. And so I was hanging out with him and he'd give me all these movies every day to watch for free. So I had a great film education from him, like some really weird Japanese film and French stuff and old American stuff and all that, kind of a little bit off the beaten path. And it really helps for influence to kind of expand as far as possible. Almost in some ways like an apples to oranges kind of thing if you're really going outside the box for influence. And so he and I co-wrote a horror script called Sniper Rifle Whiz Kid versus Psycho Movie Killer. And that eventually, it's way different than Earthbound, but that eventually evolved into Earthbound where it was kind of just me. He had kind of been doing his own thing, but.
That sounds great. So what's he doing now?
He did a film and he's working on that. And he's like maybe trying to line up another film, but it's not out yet, but it's called Night of the Babysitter. And then he is I kind of bug him about writing a comic that I might try and work with him on eventually, but that's kind of down the line.
So I have to ask you, since it seems like you do, like all your projects are, a lot of pages, how long does it take you to do one page from start to finish?
Yeah, I can do it in like 6 to 8 hours. If it's a little bit more minimalist of a page, I can sometimes do 2 in one day. But I have like some backed up material, so I'm trying to power through it. And I don't know, like another thing too, though, I'm always trying to figure out, like lately I've been trying to mess with my diet to just have a little bit more like focus, because I kind of tend to about 6 to 8 hours. That will sometimes take me like 10 hours to get 6 to 8 hours of really good focused artwork done. And like, because I'm on Twitter or YouTube or whatever is part of it. But I think sometimes going fast like that, it does like drain my brain too. But I want to do more.
Getting it done. I mean, if you're getting a page done, then you should actually, reward yourself with taking a break.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't, but it's probably not a bad idea. In concept, in theory.
Sean says hashtag Narwhal Nation.
Yeah, Sean's from Seattle, and I'm from there-ish, I'm in Portland right now, but yeah.
I love Portland. I think that's a great place. Every time I do a con up there, I always fall in love with that area.
Yeah, I love that you can pretty much walk everywhere, even though it's a city, but and the 4 quadrants of it. I live in Southeast. That's a cool kind of hip quadrant.
So are you in the city?
Yeah, I can walk downtown at this point. I'm not too far out. I'm like at 30th, whatever. Once you get to like 50th to 80th to 100th, then you're like getting in the boonies a little bit.
I was hanging out with Matthew Clark one evening, and it was a Friday or a Saturday night, and we went, bar hopping and clubbing, and we were pulling right up to the curb in front of these establishments. In LA, that would be impossible. You would be driving, 10, 15 minutes just to find parking. We were driving right up to the curb. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We got Matt Costin and Sierra Whiskey just showed up. Hello. Matt Costin says, looks great, Narwhal. Glad I'm getting a copy of this.
Nice. Thanks, Matt. Matt's great. He's a great artist.
Matt's got Agenda. If you guys haven't checked out that project, go do so. The great James Hudnall was the writer on that, co-creator, and RIP, brother. That was sad news. Was that last week?
Yeah, that was very sad.
Yeah, that bummed me out because I was so excited when he started doing Comicsgate projects. I was like, yeah, he's one of us.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Got to watch your health if you're sitting and drawing all day.
Well, he's a diabetic too, so I think it got the better of him. I don't know if that. I guess that's just speculation at this point because I'm not really sure, but I know he was battling, diabetes.
Matt, it's been a pretty rough week.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll have Matt on and we could talk about the future of Agenda and see where that's going to go if there are any plans. But it's a great looking book. You guys should check it out. And Matt's work is brilliant on that. I think he's a full package like you, or it's him and his brother, because I think he does all the artwork and maybe his brother does the coloring. But I think it's all in-house there.
Yeah, I see his updates of his process, and he does all traditional inks too, which is cool. You do that too. I like that. I want to one day try and expand into that. But that's kind of, we were talking about how I'm trying to move pretty fast with my art, so digital helps with that a lot too.
Yeah, and I think you have a good blending, so I wouldn't even mess with it, my friend. I'm actually envious of the look. I wish I was that clever with the coloring, because I can kind of do line art like what you're doing, but just the coloring is that's beyond me. You've done some study and you know how that light works in a real basic way too. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. Like you really know the basics of how lighting works.
Yeah, thanks. And I do have a few color tutorials on my channel. If anyone's curious on that, you can sub me. I run the writers room on my channel, which is a few of the community writers. We kind of just brainstorm live, and it's kind of fun. And then I do some coloring tutorials on Narwhal Books is my channel. But
yeah, I'll make sure I check that out because I need to.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, what I was gonna say is we're all sitting here drawing a lot. So a lot of times we'll have YouTube on in the background, and that's kind of a big part of the community is like connecting with multitasking content. It's like a whole new art form. YouTube is it's meant to be multitasked too. I'm curious how many people in the chat right now are multitasking, you know, probably everyone.
Yeah, I know I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm picking my nose and talking.
Yeah.
I'm not picking my nose.
Art, you have a kind of cool voice. You should I don't know, you should do some voices for some characters in Comicsgate or something.
Okay. I'll get on that. I don't know who I contact. Yeah, I really like the community as well. I've been in this industry for 35 years, and I've never seen this level of generosity with different creators. Usually, comics have always been well. When I first broke in, there was a lot of people helping others. You know, like mentoring, and then even there were fanzines. So there was even a lot of fan press and stuff that would help, you know, publicize your work, get you out there, things like that. But then the 90s, the money was great, but it became more of, you know, people, I guess, being less generous about it. It's so weird. Like when there was less money in it, there was more generosity. And then when there was more money in it, people kind of tightened up. It became more unto themselves and less sharing with things. And then once the crash happened, then it kind of went back. It was kind of a hybrid, I think, at that point, where there was a little bit of sharing, but not to the point that it was. And so then we're modern day, where it really is, you can't even speak your mind anymore without being crucified. So that's what the comics industry is now, and it's all very micromanaged and controlled. And so that's the main reason I left to do independent projects.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too. It's good to get out of there, because it's like they mentioned the whisper networks and stuff. Like for me, trying to break in, like I been nothing until Comicsgate, and then it was like a dam breaking. I've had you know, it's been just so great meeting everyone. Everyone's helping and mentoring and talking and helping promote and everything. And it was the opposite before. Before I had a few contacts I'd meet at cons or whatever, and we'd email once in a while, but they would never really. Yeah, I mean, it's just different with Comicsgate. They're like, I actually have a little anecdote. It was way early on, so 2 years ago. I reached out to Tim Lim and sent him one of my comics, and he read it, liked it, and immediately gave me an email of someone to email an editor and said, tell him Tim Lim sent you. And I was like, whoa, that is unheard of. That's awesome.
Yeah. The thing is that the sharing with the platforms, like what we're doing with you, and you'll pay it forward to somebody and so on, is that it also is good business. You know what I mean? Like, I think what keeps everybody honest is it's not just sharing and being friendly, but it also is good business, because I can only build my platform to a certain extent, you know, and you and you know, Matt Cosson and whoever else, Ben Henderson, like we can only go so far. But if we share our platforms with other people, then we have a chance to hit like your fan base, or you can hit my fan base or whoever's. And I think it's pretty revolutionary. And I think that, you know, when it's all said and done, for me, for my taste, and for what I've seen in the industry, this has never been done before. And it's the greatest thing that's ever been done in this industry, because it keeps us all honest. Because like, I don't get anything off your book. Like, I don't make any money off it or anything. So there's no business, there's no finances, there's nothing, there's no transactions. So once we're done here, we're done. You know, there's no deeper connection. So we're doing it just to share. You know what I mean? Like, it really is just to help promote your book. And then the hopes are always that you'll do it for somebody else, and so on and so on. And that's a great pyramid scheme, you know?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. And I don't know who came up with it, or if it just happened organically, but it's fairly brilliant, and I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. I got a show called The Kids Table on my channel where we highlight indie books, and we got one of my crew in here, Michael Beacon's hanging out. And but yeah, I agree 100%. And the live streaming community, like everyone's kind of hopping in here and there on everyone's channels, kind of centralized around Ethan's channel. That feels like new too. I think there's more interaction between the artists than before. You might meet at cons, and I mean, I didn't really experience it. This is what I'd imagine. You meet at cons and you'd get a drink or something, but we're like hanging out every week with artists and writers.
Yeah, it's not just the 2 days that you're at a show. This is ongoing, and like I said, it's friendship, but it's also a business model as well. So we're getting camaraderie and friendship out of it, but we're also getting advertisement. Like none of us have a budget to really advertise, so this is a great way to build a network that we can also advertise on different platforms. And obviously my style is way different than yours, is way different than Taylor's. But there might be overlapping fan base. There might be somebody that likes Narwhal's work that likes mine, and vice versa. So, it's pretty
definitely
cool.
I heard someone say this, that Comicsgate has like a diversity to it that is from the bottom up instead of the top down. Where at a company, you might have someone, a big wig producer type, being like, all right, we're going to get this style and this style. That'll be a good mix up. Or maybe their taste will actually make it not very diverse. It'll just be their one thing they like, and all the books end up looking like that. Like Image is almost like that. It feels like right now, like it's all kind of that indie, like pastel, tumblery kind of indie stuff. But
it becomes homogenized, and I think so does like Marvel and DC at some point, because there is kind of a house style. And if you look deep enough, like obviously in the 90s it was everywhere. So it was that West Coast style that Jim Lee, Will Spartaccio, Scott Williams, and myself kind of helped pioneer. But even like at Marvel right now, like you said, that kind of Tumblr look is kind of very it kind of prevails there. And DC is kind of like it's a mix between like 90s style and kind of this Brazilian style, that's going on right now. So there always is kind of a house style, that's happening. And yeah, you just don't really see that as much, with the books we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's all over the place, but it's organic, kind of just from like this democratic thing of what people like. You kind of get a good sense too of because we're all almost like our own business. So you're forced to give people a little bit of what they want. Like there's something wise that Ethan said once. He's like, if I could, I'd make all YouTube videos about The Sopranos, but I can't. And I was like, the fact that he is willing to let that go and still embrace and enjoy making like Star Wars videos is like good business and wise and cool. And it can inform your art too, like the projects we're deciding to do. Like I think I'm going to try and develop a little more superhero-esque one soon, because with one iconic character rather than kind of this a little more like cinematic. Earthbound's like, multiple main characters and stuff like that.
Oh, go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, it's what you guys were saying before. I think all the cross promotion is very organic in a way, and really suits kind of what social media is right now.
Yeah, because you couldn't have done this in the Image days. You couldn't have done these type of platforms at any other point in history. And so this really is groundbreaking in its approach. And it's just kind of, everybody understands that it's a good thing, so we just do it. You know what I mean? No one's being pressured to do it. There's no mandate. There's no, there's no, like, God, what do they call that? Corporate, like pressure that's coming down saying this is how you need to conduct this. And so in turn, everybody that's coming in has a unique voice because it's not mandated, and these universes, aren't connected. So there isn't this homogenization that's happening right now. So it's very unique and it's very creator driven. In the best of ways. So I'm very proud to be part of this, you guys.
Yeah.
Sid says, Narwhal, can you show my Punisher commission?
Cool. I'm queuing it up right now. I think this is the one. Can you guys see that?
Oh yeah, with the vigilante.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the tiers on the previous campaign is digital commissions. So I've been doing those. I think they're all in this folder, so maybe I can show a few of them. Let me see if there's like that was one character designs for the dude. That was one. Ewoks eating Luke. There's
oh, that's cool.
A goon one. That was one.
I like that.
Yeah, there's monkeys again. Can't get enough. That was commissioned by Ben Henderson. That one.
Pretty
Is he doing one of those Scottish dances while he's got the axe? It looks like he's doing, what do they call that?
Oh gosh.
What was that dance that was popular for a while? Or was it Irish?
I was going to say river dance.
Yeah, kind of a river dance. Yeah. With an axe.
You can practically hear the bagpipes.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Gosh, I gotta talk to you and ask you what your rates are, because we have a somewhat animated project that we want to get going. Yes. I would love to get you on that. Oh, look at that. That's another Ben Henderson too, is Ravage. I saw that one, but there was what was it, Wrath?
Yeah, the Wraith.
The Wraith, I'm sorry.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm open to like working in Comicsgate on some other people's projects a little bit, because I was thinking I kind of missed that. I wanted to do that all my 20s and couldn't really break into the industry, and it's a good way to learn and cut your teeth and stuff, and I kind of missed all that, and I'm jumping straight into the indie stuff where I'm running my own stuff, and I think I can maybe do, as long as I can do my stuff a little bit, you know, kind of chip away at something, and it can buy me some time where I'm not stressing rent and food, then I could work on some other projects for people.
Yeah. So are you renting in Portland?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a nice city there, boy. I kind of envy you, except for you have the cold winters and it rains a lot.
I know the winters get real old, but then when it ends, you kind of snap out of it. You're like, oh, it feels so good to be sunny. I can't believe I made it all the way through winter.
Yeah. Fall. Hey, do you go down? Because isn't what is that called? Oh man, I'm forgetting the publishing company that does the Goon. Isn't that in Portland there?
Albatross?
No.
Dark Horse is in Portland.
Horse. Yeah, Dark Horse.
Yeah, they're one of the ones that I have just a little bit of like bitterness, but it's fine. But like I went to a Comic-Con like before everything finally broke. So this is like exact year ago. I think I went to Emerald City Comic-Con, and I had printed out a bunch of zines and 3 different books, like the first issue of Earthbound, Nosferatu, and Foreign Agent, and I was handing them out to everyone. I got 0 emails back, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, so I'm so glad we have Comicsgate.
How far is Dark Horse from where you live? Because that's still. Oh no, they're in Portland, but they're not in the city there, right? They're kind of.
Yeah, they might be in Beaverton. I think they're a little bit out, like 20 minutes or something. Suburb kind of.
There's a river that flows along. What is that river? Do you know what the name of it is?
Oh, unfortunately, no. But it's like right through Portland. You know, when I lived in Seattle, I made a pilgrimage to Fantagraphics. Have you guys heard that company?
Oh yeah, they've been around forever.
Yeah,
so publish Love and Rockets.
Yeah, they're based in Seattle, and so I found it on Google Maps. I walked there. It's like this in this kind of industrially area of town. There's highways everywhere, kind of run down houses and stuff. And in the middle of it, between these 2 like rundown, shacky, shady houses underneath a highway, one of those houses is the Fantagraphics headquarters.
Yes.
So I walked around it. I was like, but the lesson I learned from that's kind of cool. And this is like with Peter Simeti too. Like they're running this big multinational company almost, and they're winning awards and stuff. They're just this shack house. Like all they do really is take orders, take big shipments, and then reship them out. I think that's what they do. And I think that's what Peter Simeti does. You know, like his job as a company runner is a lot just taking big shipments and then shipping them out to the stores to sell them and stuff. It's almost for him, it's almost a full-time job.
Yeah, you want to keep the overhead as low as possible, because the lower you can make it, the more profitable it becomes, because there just isn't a ton of money in it yet, but Comicsgate is building, and we're gonna all be rich soon. So
Yeah,
that's gonna be changing.
my really optimistic view of the future on Comicsgate is that I think we'll be, and this might be like a few years or more even down the road, but we'll be kind of the new crop that like Netflix taps or Disney taps, or we might have an alternative to those might emerge by that time that's kind of tapping the Comicsgate IPs, and we'll be expanding into other media, and then it's on. I think it will mirror a little bit of, and you know more than me, Art, but like the 90s, that people were becoming millionaires, obviously Todd McFarlane and stuff, but it was a huge surge kind of.
Oh yeah, I did pretty well too, and I do think you're right. And Taylor and I have been looking into some of these live stream companies and things like that to bring properties to them. And I think that is the logical progression for people like us, because it's all serialized. And one of the Netflix templates, like with Stranger Things, was the one episode ends and then the other one begins right where that one ended. I mean, unless they want to jump it in time, but that's pretty much the way an ongoing comic works. So I think it's probably the closest to a filmed, form of entertainment to comic books. And I was just thinking about this the other day. Disney is putting a ton of money and time into their live streaming, or not live streaming, but their streaming service. And they're going to put Netflix out of business. You watch, because they're also undercutting Netflix as far as their fees. What do they call that? Your monthly membership fees. And so they're undercutting Netflix. So what they're going to do, you watch, what they're going to do in a year or so, they're going to get everybody in with the cheaper price. And then once they get them all hooked with the content, they're going to jack up the prices, and they'll be more expensive than Netflix. But by that time, they'll have done the damage. But look what they have. Like if you've new Star Wars content, like the Mandalorian show and all like these shows, and these are A-list people that they're getting in to do these shows and to act in them. And even the Marvel stuff, they're doing the same. Like, Chris Evans is going to direct, and God, I forget the shows that they like. They got the two actors from the Avengers, Scarlet Witch and Vision, and there's a bunch of other shows that are going to be spinoffs from the cinematic universe that they're going to do there. And I believe that this is going to be the business model of the future. I think this is also going to take out motion pictures. I think if they can bring the quality up and that they can make it cost effective. Because a lot of these shows, like the Netflix shows and things, those look like movies. Like some of that stuff, the production values are pretty high. So I do believe that the future is going to be these live stream, not live stream, but the streaming networks.
Yeah, that's a good point and a good bet. Like, yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw recently too, they announced that on the Disney one, they're going to have supposedly the entire old archive of the old Disney cartoons, and I guess some unseen stuff as well. So they're going to get like the Disney historians really interested.
Yeah, that Disney wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't any money in it and there wasn't any future in it. Disney's going to clean up. They're going to pioneer. Well, they're not going to pioneer it, but they're going to definitely throw this thing into the next level. That's going to be really hard for other networks to compete with, but because Disney just has so much of a back catalog of stuff.
Didn't they just buy Fox too?
Yeah, and I think even God, what was it that I heard that they're going to do something with the Fox properties?
How is that not considered a monopoly?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Fastly approaching that. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I forget the Fox properties that they said they're also bringing in and going to develop as properties.
Jam Creates asks, do you guys think that Disney or Netflix would ever work with Comicsgate? They are very left-leaning companies.
You never know. You never know. And I think this is what I'm projecting as far as Comicsgate. There's a lot of negative things, I think, just because of the name and a lack of understanding. However, I do think the success of Comicsgate is going to be what's going to break down the boundaries. So the dollar amounts and things like that, because a lot of these companies, I'm not going to say that. Well, I don't know how intact their morality is. I don't know, what they think is important, but I do know they know that success and money is important. So when money talks, you get their attention, because in the 90s, when we put out Black and White originally, we signed with William Morris. We got licensing companies that we signed with, because the numbers were they were catastrophic. Yeah, they were undeniable. And when you have people like Ethan putting up 500,000, probably 1 million when it's all said and done, you have Richard Meyer doing, 500,000 sales. A lot of these books, have close to $200,000. Black and White is at 60K. We'll probably be at 70K before it's all said and done. I mean, these are big numbers, especially in the industry that's kind of shrinking around us. These are big numbers, and this is growth, and this is going to get attention and is getting attention. So I think it will. I think to answer your question, Narwhal, I think they are looking at it at this point. I think they are. But they're going to wait till it's totally undeniable. You know what I mean? Where they can go, all right, we're going to partner with these guys, and the success will outweigh the negative aspects of it. Yeah.
I kind of think that too. Just powering through, and we don't even need to be like nice to them. We can challenge them. Like there's a good anecdote from the 60s film, or from film in the 60s in France. So it was Jean-Luc Godard. He was a film critic before he's a filmmaker, and all he did was talk crap about all the establishment movies, even though they're in their own right pretty good. And they ended up giving him a chance because of all the crap he was talking.
Yeah, as long as it's good and as long as there's success attached to it, I think it will break down the boundaries and the doors. We kind of came in with embracing this title Comicsgate, and I think it's kind of like it's a badge.
It's limiting.
Yeah, it's a badge of honor, because we kind of tried to rebrand it into a positive. But I think that to most people that don't look any deeper into it, they don't see it as that. All they would have to do is listen to this show right now, and they would realize that it's not a hate group. But I think it's going to take a lot to transcend that as well. And I do think the success and the quality of these properties is going to do that.
Because unfortunately, when you Google it, that's the first thing that comes up. And a lot of people won't do research beyond that. Yeah,
because Taylor and I have tried to partner with a lot of different types of people in the mainstream, like A-list talent. You'd be surprised the people we had lined up to work with us. But, and I don't blame them to be attached to some of this and have the negative, that negative. It's not factual, it's not true, but just the reputation of it, it's going to make it harder for them to maybe stay in the mainstream and to continue. And I think once that wall is knocked down, I think, these live streaming, I keep saying live stream, these streaming networks and these other potentials will happen.
Yeah. Yep.
What do you think?
Because it's happening already. More and more established pros are moving into this new Comicsgate model, or dabbling and testing it. One I've got my eye on, I'm curious about, is Sean Gordon Murphy, because I know he's going to go indie after he finishes the second Batman book. I think he's only going to write his own stuff, so I think he'll be crowdfunding at that point, and he'll kind of be essentially one of us. I think it might calm down by then. Maybe Comicsgate won't be such a besmirching name at that point.
Do you think he's going to go from his Kickstarter platform that he's been known for and go with the Indiegogo platform, which is superior, you guys? If anybody's on the fence, Indiegogo is a superior platform.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is. I it depends because he's friends with Doug. I know Doug will counsel him that way, and I wonder if he seems like a good enough guy that he'll talk to Ethan. He like won't not talk to Ethan because Ethan's the one to talk to. He's the one who is mastering the business plan, kind of.
I know that Sean Gordon Murphy he's done like you said, he's done a couple of very, very successful Kickstarters, and he has a huge indie presence. So he would definitely bring, I think, a large number of people over if he were to do an Indiegogo.
Yeah, and just talking to a lot of mainstream guys, almost all of them have an idea, an independent concept that they've been working on the side. So I think they're just waiting for a realistic model to jump ship and to publish with, because I think the only thing that's keeping a lot of those guys from doing independent projects now is just the financial aspects of it. And I know it was a big concern for us, but this has turned into a bigger success than Taylor and I thought it would ever be. And this is just the start. So I believe that Black and White 2, Volume 2 is going to double these numbers easily with the fan base that we've already built. We had a fan base of maybe 200 or 300, I think, on Kickstarter for our independent projects. And now we're well over 1,000 backers. So that's a major, major jump. So when we go to do the next project, hopefully we have all those 1,000 people that have backed the book now that will want to get Volume 2, and so on, the other projects that Taylor and I have planned. So it's very exciting. It's for somebody like me that's, I don't know, I was going to say seen it all, done it all, but for somebody like me that's been in this industry for quite a while, I mean, this is pretty amazing. This is a pretty neat place to be right now, and I believe it's just beginning.
Yeah, every tier of book is getting funded. Not every campaign is successful. That's just kind of the way it works. But like there's low level indies getting funded, medium level indies getting funded. Then you start to get in almost like the pro, low level, high pro level. Then you're in the six figures, And yeah, I remember when I was thinking about jumping into Comicsgate like 2 years ago, I was like real nervous because I'm like, man, my goal this whole time has been to get into comics, and I'm worried I'll get blacklisted. Then I'm like, I might already be blacklisted and not know it because I don't know what they watch if I did one wrong post, or if they're that kind of super far left where they don't like straight white males or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, shoot. So I jump in. I'm like, I'm ashamed that I was even questioning it at this point. It's been the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, I think there's kind of this, because I like rock and roll, and I played in the day in the 70s and 80s, heavy rock. And I think like we're kind of the bad boys of comics, like I think that's kind of a badge of honor where, we're kind of we're the cool guys. We're like Motley Crue on Sunset Strip when they were breaking in, people don't quite understand it, but it's kind of cool. And there's this kind of like, there's this taboo-ness to it, like, ooh, Comicsgate, what are they all about? Oh, they say they're Nazis,
rebels.
But they're like, oh, but when they get into it, they go, oh, they're rebels, and they're putting out great product, and they're not quite what everybody says they are. And I don't know. There's part of me that this excites me.
All rebels are villainized when you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Your parents, like,
that's what makes them cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm going.
Yeah. It feels like punk. I was gonna say punk, but rock and roll punk, kind of same thing. Like, I like that a lot about it. Earthbound's kind of like that too. Earthbound's kind of a punk little book. It's kind of weird,
It's weirdly. I was gonna come up with some kind of like weirdly entertaining or weirdly amazing. The level of craftsmanship, Narwhal, is way understated with your book, but it is probably one of the most sophisticated books I've seen through Comicsgate. It's so simple in its approach that I think you overlook the complexity and the understanding that goes behind it. The lighting alone that you're bringing to this project is nothing short of amazing. So you're quite a craftsman, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, and great artists tend to like my style, which is great, and I appreciate it. And and in Europe they like my style a lot too. And
yeah. Well, I remember having a conversation with Mike Mignola, and Mike was like, all the artists like my style, but I just don't sell any books.
oh yeah, look where he is now. It's
this was probably just when he was breaking into doing his independent project, which was Hellboy. But I mean, when you look at the books that were like Image was putting out, and even Marvel, Hellboy was doing okay, but it wasn't doing those numbers, so even relative to the time, he was not selling, what Spawn was selling, but he should have been, because everybody in the industry was inspired on some level by him. You can see it. You can see the ripples throughout comicdom and styles. But I think it's just that way, that if it looks too simple, then people just think that it didn't hurt you to do it. You know what I mean? Like they applaud, like if it's complex and it looks very intricate, that's their level of like, oh, that looks really, accomplished or successful, but then you take like in music terms, you take a band like Rush, and then you take a band like AC/DC, where, AC/DC stripped it down to basically 3 chords or 3 notes, and still has just as big a following as something that's as complex as a Rush, 2112 album, so it really does range, and there is that level of craftsmanship. But I do think that people will go, oh, Rush, those guys are accomplished, and they'll just go, oh, those AC/DC guys, they're just very basic. You know what I mean? Like they'll just kind of slough it off.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. The poster I have up on my screen right now, I have a comrade in New York City, and I'm trying to convince her to print that out and tape it or staple it to the front door of the Marvel headquarters, aka Martin Luther to the Catholic Church.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that would be very bad boy of you. Yeah, very punk rock. Yeah. So, do you want to try to wrap this up now?
Yeah, sounds good. It's been great talking to you. Good conversation, both of you. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Let's go back to Narwhal's Indiegogo, Earthbound.
All right.
And we'll do a last once over.
Your guys' stream is like well organized and good production value. It's
well, thank you.
It took us a little bit.
There was a lot of failing publicly.
That's me too. When I first jumped on the mic, that's one thing a piece of advice I give to anybody who wants to crowdfund is jump on a mic as much as possible, because you want to be comfortable on a mic to promote your book and stuff, especially if you get on Ethan's show or whatever.
Well, for me, I think it, because I've been in bands and I've performed in front of people, and at cons, I usually don't have a problem. For me, and I'm still working on it, and Taylor and I are both, working on it, is to try to find our voice. As soon as I find my voice and I find my truth and what I want to talk about and what I'm about and how I represent, myself and Hack Shack Studios, and the way Taylor wants to, present herself as well, then I have no problem talking. You know what I mean? But it's up to that point. It's like, well, what do we talk about? Who do we talk about? What do we say? What are the parameters? Like, those are the hard parts for me. And when I don't know, then I'll stutter around and I won't have anything to say, and I won't know what to talk about. I'm really not that good at small talk, and Taylor and I talk about this as well. Like when we go to parties and stuff like that, we just tank, until we find that one person like Narwhal to hang out with. Exactly. And just talk about comics for the next, 2 hours.
Yeah, then it flows. I could definitely keep going. And in the chat, I see Comics Legend said, when is the first campaign going to be fulfilled? Doing that now. So the PDF's out and released, and I'm ordering the soft covers and the hard covers, but I'll be shipping those out in May is kind of the plan.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you're 18 days left. You have 64 backers. You're at 2,803. I'd like to see that go up. Let's refresh, see if it went up.
Link is in the description right now, you guys, by the way, if you would like to get a copy of Earthbound.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the chat have backed it. I recognize their names. I appreciate all the support to
Yeah.
it. So, yeah.
And this is a great style. It sounds like a great concept. I think the deal here is the hardbound book plus sketchbook. That is quite a deal. Wow, you only sold 6 of those. Those should be sold out by now.
There's only 24 available, so if you guys want that, don't wait, because I have a feeling that's going to sell out.
Yeah, if Narwhal wasn't going to send me one free, then I would probably buy that one.
Yeah, that's the one to get.
Just quiet, just dead.
Yours is in the mail. I got an early copy for you. You can have the what's it called? The print they send you to check everything.
No. Don't even worry about it. I'll pick up a book.
Wait, that's a collector's item.
It is a collector's item. I obligated him right here live. Yeah, no, I was just kidding. But I'm not kidding about the tier. That is the best tier, and it's quite a deal. This is a great style, Narwhal. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wonderful art and your story. This is absolutely gorgeous. This splash page.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, great talking to you. And it means a lot to have you kind of compliment me. Basically, it feels good and it inspires me. I want to keep going.
Yeah, we'll keep going. This stuff's beautiful, and we'll be in talks because we have a project that I think you'd be ideal for.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That'd be awesome. Like I was telling you, these opportunities in Comicsgate are so great, and it was a desert before that, so I'm so grateful.
Yeah, that's kind of how the industry was for me too. It was feast or famine for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother. Well, if you haven't checked out Earthbound, it's Narwhal's new Indiegogo, and it's up for 18 more days. So don't wait. Check it out, and it's just stunning artwork. It's dazzling.
It is. It's a good way to describe it.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks again, Narwhal, for coming on, and all the best with your book and your future projects.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Nate. It's nice to meet you, Taylor. Thanks, chat. Sub Narwhal Books on Twitter and YouTube.
And support Earthbound.
Yes. All right, guys. Have a good one.